Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about who's gonna die in The Walking Dead Season 8. Now, these death predictions are broken up depending on what community they're fighting for, and in this video, we're gonna discuss the Kingdom. Going from A to Z, let's start off with Alvaro. That sounds like some type of ointment. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this guy right here, he is a part of the Kingdom that has been a part of a number of different operations, and since the Kingdom has to have some losses in the comic book, and this might be cheating, but in the comic book, there's one particular scene or one particular battle where they take a lot of losses. Now, we did see a hint of that in the trailer. This guy wasn't at that moment, or at least they didn't show his death on the screen at that moment, but I do say, unfortunately, this is just going to come down to getting a friendly face that we know from previous seasons, which would be the last season, dying in these battles to show that there's definitely something at stake. Sorry, bud, but Lady Death is calling. Next up, we got Carole. This bitch is definitely done. No one even likes this character anymore. She has definitely outstayed her welcome. I'm just kidding. A lot of people like Carole. I love Carole. She is a badass, and I do think she's going to continue to be a badass. I'm hoping that they explore the problems that she has been having, and that kind of articulates into a different version of Carole by the end of the war. I am interested to see what they're going to do with her character, but I do not believe they're going to kill her. Now, in the comic book, there was a connection between Michonne and Ezekiel, but they don't seem to be going in that direction. However, they got Carole perfectly positioned to take over that role and adapt it into some type of remix. So if they do go down that road, which they most likely are, sorry, Rayon, Carole's going to be cuddling up to King Ezekiel, taking Shiva's place. I say she's going to survive, and they're going to have some future story. I don't think it needs to be an all-out romance. If I could be totally serious for just a moment, I don't think they need an all-out romance. Just a good, solid bond and a friendship between Carole and Ezekiel is all they really need, but they are setting it up as if Carole is going to take over some of comic book Michonne's storyline. Next up, we got Daniel. Hold on a second. No, what is it? Daniel Newman's the actor, but what is his? Holy shit, his character's name is Daniel too. You learn something new every day. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit tricky. One of the communities needs to take some serious losses, and seeing how the Kingdom was so peaceful and just has so much going for it as far as the community setup and structure, and seeing how peaceful they were beforehand, it seems heartbreaking and poetic in a very disturbing way to have them take some serious losses. Add on top of that, in the comic book or the source material, they did take some serious losses as well. Now, the other communities do. It just kind of feels like the Kingdom really gets the brunt of it. With that being said, it's a flip of a coin for Daniel and some other of the Kingdom members, or especially the Kingdom soldiers, because you want some friendly faces to remember after the war, but you also gotta kill off some of these characters we know to show that a lot is at stake and they're not playing games. Like this is war. People are gonna die. So I'm gonna flip a coin, and I have to put Daniel under. He's dead. He's not gonna make it. I'm sorry, folks. He's a kick-ass singer, though. Check him out on Twitter. Next up, bow and arrow bitch, Diane. I like this chick. I think it's really cool to have a bow and arrow chick, and I think we need to get some really awesome and epic bow and arrow kills during the war. That would be pretty cool. Now, here's my problem. They set up Diane, especially with a couple key moments in Season 7, like how she said, "Oh, my sister wears that dress." There's just a couple key moments that has me believing she might die, and I do believe it's a toss-up. For me, they kind of evened out, and it really could be the flip of a coin. Either one of them dies and lives. Now that I'm thinking about it, they have a little bit of setup with her as far as killing the walker that was wearing the same type of dress as her sister. So I'm gonna change my death prediction mid-prediction yet again. I'm gonna give it to Diane. The basic bitch bowmaster is going to die during the war, and Daniel's gonna live, and that's because Daniel is the one that brought Morgan to the community, and I just think they're hiding something there. They're gonna do something beautiful later on, or I'm completely full of shit. So Diane dies, and Daniel lives. I changed that. Next up, we got King Ezekiel. Now, here's the thing. Along the way, one of the leaders of the communities is bound to die. However, I just don't feel like it's going to happen. Now, in the source material, King Ezekiel lives on past the war. And I see the same in the TV universe as well for the future of King Ezekiel. I think it's necessary that he survives the war because it would just be a whole clusterfuck of storyline having the leader killed and then go on with a new leader after the time skip. I think it's necessary to continue with this character for the story as well as him being a fan favorite, and it's just too soon to kill a new character like this off. Even in the show, it seems like he got a little bit more character development before we got into the war compared to the comic book, but I still feel like it's necessary to continue this character storyline after the war, so I say he lives. Next up, I'm throwing little Henry in here because we gotta throw him in here. His brother was killed, and I do think Henry's gonna live. I don't think it actually adds anything to the story to kill little Henry. His brother was killed off. It was what jump-started the war here for the kingdom's involvement, and I think it's just beating a dead horse or beating a dead brother for them to kill Henry. Next up, we got fan favorite Jerry. You guys are gonna hate me, and I know I'm falling for it on this one. The trap from the trailer, it made it look like Jerry was saying his goodbyes to King Ezekiel as if he was gonna die. Now, most likely in the actual show, that's not gonna be a moment where Jerry dies, and he actually lives on. However, I'm going to take the bait. I do think you need something that's going to rip the guts out of the viewers, and I think this is it, because he's quickly rising as a teddy bear, a fan favorite, the innocent type, somebody that a lot of viewers and fans can relate to. Such an awesome guy, a sweetheart, and I think we really need this type of loss in the middle of a war, such a dark period for the show. I think this is a necessary death, but I would love to be wrong. I think it would be awesome to see Jerry continue his story serving the king even after the war, but sadly, I'm giving him up to Lady Death. Next on the list, we have King Ezekiel and his better half, Shiva. Now, we already done King Ezekiel, so now we're gonna focus on Shiva, and I gotta say, sadly, and I might be falling for another trap, but I'm going with the source material as well. I think they're gonna stay close to it and kill off Shiva. I disagree with how they should do it, though. In the comic book, they went the route of the walkers. Again, I disagree with that. I think it should be a savior that shoots Shiva, and she's very wounded, but still helps King Ezekiel survive some walkers. But sadly, she's just too big. He can't pull her away after she helps him out, and then more walkers come. She's too heavy, little bit weak. She can't fight off all the walkers, and they eventually take her down, crippling King Ezekiel, just tearing his heart out and really doing damage towards him as a person and his leadership because of how devastated he is. Obviously, we're relying heavily on the source material, so if any of this happens, don't congratulate me. Congratulate the comic books. And then finally, for the kingdom, we got Morgan. Morgan is wonderfully played by an actor that I absolutely love, and that is Lenny James. I would love to see Morgan survive and continue on even after the war. Now, Morgan in the comic book dies during No Way Out, and even back then in the show, I was hoping he would not die during No Way Out because he has more purpose to serve. And here's where I'm a little bit split. I do think building the jail cell, he kind of comes around full circle with his story, but there's another part of me that might be biased towards how much I really like the actor's range and what he can do with the character. I do want him to stay and carry on some additional story after the war, but my gut is saying this is it. There's going to be something that's going to happen. This is his snapping point, because we have Morgan go crazy once. He came back from that, and now he's starting to go down that crazy road again. I mean, he's trying to fight Jesus in the woods. Who does that? So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to serve Morgan up to Lady Death. And when he makes that final exit from the show, I'm really hoping that they do some type of moment to just pay homage to this character. There's just something really special about the character that ran into Rick Grimes for the first time when he left the hospital. I'm hoping they touch base with that, and I'm really hoping they do conclude his jail cell storyline. There's just one other thing they need to do with that as far as the purpose of the jail cell and what it can do for the future of the communities, and that is essentially part of what Morgan was talking about before, giving them another choice, staying civilized, showing that the communities can grow beyond this. They can be better than they are now. They could be better than they ever were. And I'm hoping they do something with Morgan. If they decide to take him in season 8, I'm hoping they do something with his story to connect it back to that jail cell and connect it to Rick in a way that changes the direction of the story, leading us into season 9. Kind of another viewpoint on how we can win this war without having to kill every single savior. It's all about the leader. You gotta take the leader out, take the loyal followers out, and the rest will fall in line. That's going to wrap it up for this community. We're going to move on to possibly the Hilltop next, or maybe the Trash People / Oceanside. I'm going to combine them because there's only a few characters on each side that we really know of. And we also got Alexandria to do. Stay tuned because we're going to do one of those tomorrow night. And don't forget doomsdaykingdom.com for a brand new zombie comic book created and written by me. Art beautifully done by James Milne. We just recently released it digitally, and pretty soon, any day now, we're going to put up the pre-orders to get a physical copy. doomsdaykingdom.com. Any day now, those pre-orders are going to go live. I'll also make an announcement video specifically for that, so if you are interested, check it out. So far, we are hearing great stuff and things. Alright, that was fucking stupid. We're hearing good stuff, so check it out. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box. Tell me what community you want to check out next. I'm done talking. It's your turn.